Hope you're off book by now.
Yes.
The next roll.
Or the next number.
Oh, I gotcha. Number 2. Number 2.
Okay.
Particular order here. I will do the Lady Pickwick.
Okay.
We're gonna change her name to Lady Pickwick. I like that much better.
I can't remember what you actually called her.
Mrs. Pickwick.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9 here.
Number
Okay.
9. So we still have the detective, the constable, the boatman, the godmother, and the unknown figure. Boatman.
Pick a number. Trying to pick them all up.
Where it goes, nobody knows.
Drop one.
I'm gonna drop it in the hat. Actually, that's gonna make more sense. Number 8. Who's number 8?
So we got the. Did somebody grab the detective?
We have the detective, the constable, the godmother, and unknown figure.
With your personal favorite, unknown figure.
Now we go. You need to say it like this.
Oh, we already did number 9. Somehow I got added back in. No, it's 9. My
We put a line
handwriting,
under the.
number 3.
We have detective, constable, and the godmother.
Yeah. Missing number.
We've got people that would like to come and sit down. If you can squeeze a chair, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
And we got number 6.
I have 2 over here.
Thank you very much.
What do we have left?
The detective and the godmother.
The detective, I guess.
There you go. You just got to be with the dramatics.
And number 2 is our godmother.
2 is already Pickwick.
2.
2, right? Who is 2?
Who am I? Who has a number that hasn't been called? Okay, you're our godmother.
Totally.
Geez, thanks for the warning.
Here's your script.
And those scripts are yours to keep. Now, last year, people decided to come down and act out. You guys absolutely can. That's always fun. But if you would rather do it from your seat, you are welcome to do that too. What's going to happen is me and my lovely co-host are going to take turns reading the narrator roles. And yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. Just for everyone's knowledge, did you read the script?
Yeah. No, I have not.
Neither have I. So this is going to be a surprise for everybody.
That's part of the fun of AI scripts.
So we all ready? We do have a wireless right there if you want to come up. If we have multiple people, we do have other microphones up here too. I'll make sure to tell our tech people that that's happening, if it does. Who's ready for Death Rattle Dazzle?
Is anybody coming up front? Is anybody coming up front? Because now is the time to come up front. And act.
You also up front? Okay, I'm the detective.
Yeah.
We're like kind of stand.
Yeah. If you guys want to act it out, that's even better.
Should we
Project.
just okay.
Yep.
I can do that.
That works better.
Even as I'm whispering to myself.
I always project to the point where I'm almost losing my voice now. So.
All right. Scene 1, The Widow's Walk. Setting, the top of the Pickwick Lighthouse. Fog surrounds the area, and a strong wind can be heard in the background. Mrs. Pickwick stands alone on the Widow's Walk. clutching a baby's rattle in her hand.
The sea is restless tonight, just like my heart. Always pulling, always threatening to drag us under. What do you want from me? Why do you torment me so?
Read.
She grips the rattle tighter, looking down at it with a mixture of fear and sadness.
They need me. I won't let anything happen to them. Do you hear me? I won't.
She turns suddenly, sensing movement behind her, eyes wide with fear.
Who's there? Show yourself. I'm not afraid of you.
She takes a step back, her voice trembling slightly.
I know you're here, watching, waiting, but I won't let you take me. Not like this.
The wind picks up. She looks around frantically, clutching the rattle to her chest.
This lighthouse has seen enough death. It won't see mine. I promise you that.
A shadowy figure appears behind her, moving closer, and she gasps, spinning around to face it.
I swear, I'll fight you with everything I have.
She swings the rattle defensively, her voice growing more desperate.
Why do you do that? What do you want from me?
Another figure moves in closer, and she stumbles, nearly losing her balance.
Please, not like this. Not in front of my babies.
She glances back toward the door to the lighthouse, her path blocked by another figure.
You won't take me. I won't let you.
The figure moves closer, and she's forced to the edge of the widow's walk.
No, please. For my children's sake.
With a final desperate cry, she's pushed off the edge. Her scream echoes as she falls, and the rattle slips from her hand, clattering to the ground. Silence! Oh, that's just what the stage direction is. End of scene 1. Let's give a round of applause to Mrs. Pickwick.
All right. I guess it's my turn. The grounds outside the Pickwick Lighthouse. The exterior grounds of the Pickwick Lighthouse. The fog is thick. The sound of crashing waves fills the air. The detective stands alone near the base of the lighthouse, looking into the dense mist. His face a mixture of confusion and determination. He's wearing a trench coat, his collar turned up against the cold, his hat pulled low over his eyes. He paces back and forth, clearly deep in thought.
Strange, isn't it? I've been to 100 crime scenes. This one feels different. The fog, the cold, almost like the air is thicker here. Something. But what? What about this place gets under my skin? Focus, man. You've solved tougher cases than this. You've seen worse. Haven't you?
He stops pacing and leans against the lighthouse wall, his expression troubled, as if he's trying to piece something together in his mind.
Miss Pickwick, I remember arriving here hearing the news, but everything before that is foggy, just like this damn light. Why can't I remember it clearly? Why does it feel like there's something I'm missing, something right in front of me?
He shakes his head, trying to shake off the feeling, but his unease is evident. He steps away from the wall and takes a deep breath, trying to refocus.
No, get a grip. There's a killer out there, and it's my job to find them. Mrs. Pickwick deserves justice. Doesn't she?
He hesitates as if lost in thought for a moment, and then shakes his head again, trying to clear his mind.
Enough of this nonsense. It's the fog playing tricks on me. I'm here to find the murderer, not to chase shadows.
The wind picks up, swirling the fog around him, and the eerie melody begins to play, signaling the transition into the musical number Creatures of the Night. The detective's thoughts seem to swirl with the fog as he begins to narrate the events of Mrs. Pickwick's death. his voice becoming more intense and dramatic as the song takes over. And everybody feel free to go.
The edge of the world in the dead of the night. The lighthouse looms over the ocean, and a body lies curled. Such a sinister sight. Guts and gore on the shore, no Scotian. With that blood-curdling cry for the innocent sigh of a child, where it rattles your soul, the dark takes control. It's enough to drive you wild. When you're freezing, feel your sanity crash. Your demons reside inside you hide from the light. You're a creature of the night. In this eerie lighthouse, as by the tide, live triplets whose mother suspiciously died. Suspects uncanny, a constable, a nanny. Do they all have secrets to hide? Detective, my objective is follow the clues. Someone's tells the truth. I don't yet know whose. Was the mother all there mentally? Died accidentally? Or is there a killer trying to accuse? In the dark of the storm, this light of its deep, surrounded by shadows, what monsters might appear. When you're a creature of the night, in the beat of the brain, the demons so insane. Creature of the night. In the bone chilling cold as the madness takes hold, see the blood drip, drip, drip. Now your grip starts to flip to your demons reside, inside you hide from the light. Are you a creature? A creature of the night, a creature of the edge, a creature of the night.
Blackout.
The song ends with a dramatic flourish. The fog begins to lift slightly and the lights brighten, revealing the detective standing at the door of the lighthouse. He takes a deep breath, straightens his coat, and steps inside.
Inside the parlor of the Pickwick Lighthouse. Setting. The parlor of the Pickwick Lighthouse. It's modestly furnished with an old sofa, a rocking chair, and a small table with a flickering oil lamp. The nanny is already inside, arranging a tea tray. She looks up as the detective enters, raising an eyebrow at his dramatic entrance.
Lost the fight in the fog, did you? Oh, practicing your brooding look.
Ah, Nanny, always the wit. No, just gathering my thoughts. It seems the fog has a way of clouding more than the air around here.
Spent less time talking to yourself and more time investigating, you'd be closer to finding the real killer.
And I thought you'd enjoy my company. Tea, is it how very civilized for a night filled with murder and mayhem?
Tea is what keeps civilization from falling apart, detective. Especially when there's a madman on the loose. Or in our midst.
Madman, you say? Sipping tea. You think it's one of the locals, or perhaps someone much closer, someone within these very walls?
Sitting down across from him, meeting his gaze without flinching. I think you've read too many novels. The answer is probably much simpler than you'd like it to be.
Simple, you say? What's your theory then? A crime of passion? A spur of the moment impulse?
Maybe. Or maybe it's someone who's just good at hiding their true nature behind a charming smile and a sharp tongue.
Are you accusing me, Nanny? I'm flattered, but I assure you my intentions are purely professional. I'm here to solve a murder, not commit one.
You could have told me with all your talk of shadows and fog. But if you're so keen on finding the truth, perhaps you should look in the mirror first.
As I do every morning, and I must say I'm always pleased with what I see.
I'm sure you are. But mirrors don't show everything, detective. Some things hide in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight. Interesting. But I assure you, Nanny, nothing stays hidden from me long. I have a knack for uncovering secrets.
And if that secret is staring you right in the face,
Then I'll stare right back until it blinks. That's how you win these little games of cat and mouse.
The nanny transitions to the nanny's lullaby. The door bursts open, and the constable rushes in, out of breath and visibly shaken.
Mhm. Yeah, we're not gonna sing that one.
We have a problem.
The lights dim as the tension hangs in the air, leaving the audience in suspense. End of scene 2. Quick note for the stream. Let's try to use the wireless mic. The people in the stream can hear. They want to hear your exasperating tones and your beautiful notes.
So that's why we need to use the mic. Gotcha.
All right. End of scene 2. Scene 3. The parlor of the Pickwick Lighthouse. The parlor of the Pickwick Lighthouse. The room is modestly furnished with an old sofa, a rocking chair, a small table with a flickering oil lamp. The fog outside the windows is still thick, creating an eerie atmosphere. The detective, the nanny, the constable are all present, tension crackling in the air. The constable is catching up his breath from his rushed entrance at the end of season 2. Scene 2, looking anxious and disheveled, the detective paces back and forth, his mind racing with theories. He paces back and forth. He paces back and forth.
Who's pacing back and forth? Oh, I pace back and forth. What is it, Constable? Now is no time for riddles.
The lighthouse keeper. He's gone. Disappeared like a puff of smoke. One moment he was there tending the light, the next, poof, vanished.
disappeared, you say? Oh, where's my place? Or did he just decide he'd rather not spend another minute in your company, detective?
Gone, you say? Interesting. Did you see any sign of struggle? Was there anything unusual left behind?
Just this. Found it near the lantern. Blood on it, but not much. Enough to say someone didn't leave willingly.
Blood and just a hint of lavender. Curious. Very curious indeed.
Or maybe
It's a handkerchief, everybody.
maybe someone had just had a nosebleed. Not everything is a grand conspiracy, detective.
But isn't that what makes a mystery so delicious, Nanny? The little details that everyone overlooks, the clues that slip through the cracks.
You're about as subtle as a bull in a china shop. If you keep this up, we will be here all night chasing our own tails.
Ah, but that's where you're wrong. We're not chasing our tails. We're hunting a killer. And every clue, no matter how small, brings us closer to the truth.
And what if the killer is still here? What if they're watching us right now?
Then we are in the perfect place to catch them. Keep your eyes open, Constable. The fog isn't the only thing clouding the lighthouse tonight.
And what about you, detective? What secrets are you hiding in that foggy brain of yours?
Only the secret of 100 solved cases. And maybe a few unsolved ones. But tonight, I'm just focused on just the one.
Oh, I'm sure. But maybe you should be more focused on finding our missing lighthouse keeper than flexing your detective muscles.
Who says I can't do both? Where am I? Multitasking is a crucial skill in our line of work.
Should we
Thanks, robots.
should we search the lighthouse? Look for clues, maybe?
Yes, a thorough search is in order. We'll start downstairs and work our way up. Every nook and cranny, every shadow and secret door. No one leaves until we've found our man, or what's left of him.
Fine. But I'm checking on the children first. They're the only ones who matter in this whole twisted mess.
Agreed. The children must be kept safe at all costs. Whatever's going on here, they're innocent in all of this.
I'll make sure that they stay that way. Unlike some people. I don't see shadows and start waving my arms around like a lunatic.
Careful, Nanny, or I might start to think you're warming up to me.
Ah. Don't flatter yourself, detective. I just don't want to have to clean up after all your theatrics.
Suddenly, there's a loud thud from upstairs, followed by the faint sound of a baby crying. Constable jumps, eyes wide with fear. The nanny immediately stiffens, her maternal instincts kicking in.
What was that?
Listen.
They all stand still, listening intently. Another thud, louder this time, followed by more crying. The nanny looks to the detective, her expression a mix of concern and frustration.
He's coming from the nursery. I need to get to them.
Go, we'll cover the ground floor. Constable with me, stay sharp. Whoever or whatever's behind this, they're not far.
Right behind you, detective. It's the lantern.
The nanny exits quickly upstairs. The sounds of the baby is growing, cries growing louder. The detective, the constable search the parlor more thoroughly, checking behind furniture, inside a cupboard. The fog outside the window seems to press against the glass, if trying to get in.
Detective, do you think it's possible that one of the children?
Don't be absurd, Constable. They're just babies. But someone here is hiding something, and I intend to find out who.
They continue searching, the tension in the air palatable. Suddenly, a soft creaking sound comes from the corner of the room. They both freeze, staring at the source of the noise. A small, hidden door in the wall, slightly ajar.
A hidden door. Why didn't I notice that before? Did you?
No, I swear I didn't. Should we open it?
Of course, Constable. That's what makes this job fun.
He slowly reaches for the door, pushing it open with a creak. The light of the lantern reveals a narrow, dark passage leading deeper into the lighthouse. The air is cold and damp. The walls are lined with old, weathered bricks.
What do you think is down there?
Only one way to find out, shall we?
He takes a step into the passage, holding the lantern high. The constable hesitates, then follows, his fear evident, but his determination growing. As they disappear into the darkness, the sound of the baby's cries fades, replaced by the eerie sound of the wind whistling through the passage.
Got a bad feeling about this, detective.
Just your nerves, Constable. Trust me, we're on the right track. Or the wrong one, but that's half the fun, isn't it?
The passage seems to go on forever, twisting and turning, the walls narrowing as they grow deeper. Suddenly, they hear a faint sound ahead, like somebody whispering, but it's too quiet to make out the words.
Did you hear that? Someone's up ahead.
Yes, and they're not alone. Stay close and keep that lantern ready.
They cautiously move forward, the whispering growing louder but still unintelligible. Finally, they reach a small chamber at the end of the passage. Inside, a shadowy figure huddles over a small, flickering candle, muttering to themselves in a language neither of them recognize.
What are they saying?
I don't know, but I don't like the sound of it. Let's get closer.
Just as they step into the chamber, the figure suddenly stops muttering and turns to face them. The candle flickers, casting a ghostly light on their face, a face twisted with fear and madness.
Yeah, none of you should be here.
The lights flicker wildly as the figure lunges at them, knocking the lantern from the constable's hand. The chamber plunges into darkness. The sound of a struggle fills the air.
Detective, get the lantern, Constable. We need the light.
The constable fumbles in the darkness, finally grabbing the lantern and relighting it. The light reveals the detective, pinning the figure to the ground, both breathing heavily.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I didn't hurt you. I just hurt me.
We're not here to hurt you, but you need to tell us what you know now. Who are you hiding from?
The figure looks up terrified and whispers something too softly to hear. The detective leans in closer. The figure finally speaks louder.
Light. It's the light it brings them. You don't understand. They're coming for us all.
The lights flicker again, and the sound of the baby's crying is heard once more. Louder, more insistent. The detective and the constable exchange a worried look.
What does that mean? Who's coming?
I think we're about to find out.
The lights dim, the sound of the baby's cries echoing through the passage as the scene ends. End of scene 3.
Great work, everybody. That scene is a lighting designer's dream. Making lanterns work. Scene 4, the nursery of the Pickwick Lighthouse. Setting, the nursery of the Pickwick Lighthouse. The room is dimly lit, filled with an unsettling atmosphere. 3 wooden cradles, each engraved with a name, Penelope, Patrick, and Paco, are positioned side by side. Okay, a rocking chair sits near a small table cluttered with children's toys. The fog outside the windows is thick, pressing against the glass, and the distant sound of waves crashing is faintly audible. The constable stands near the cradles, looking nervously between them, his mind clearly troubled by the song he has just performed.
And cut. Hold on, it didn't put it in there, but we're going to say it.
Which of the Pickwick triplets did it? The air is thick with tension and uncertainty, and lots of pattering.
Improve apocalyptic.
Spoilies.
Excuse me. Three little babes in their bassinets, angelic little triplets or triplets. They might have fooled the others, but they won't fool me. It's time to give these people something free. The third degree. Which of the Pickwick triplets did it? Who on the crew committed this crime? My little brat, make a body goes flat. It's a story pretty gory for a nursery rhyme. Hey, which of the Pickwick triplets did it? Which of the spawn had the brawn to kill? Will a baby get tried for that? You could admit it. So quick as a whip, Pickwick triplet did it. Penelope and Pink sure is making quite a stink. Is she trying to throw me off the scent? Though she bats her little eyes, is she a killer in disguise? With a diaper full of criminal intent. Greening Patrick is pernicious, with an appetite so vicious, he would bite the hand that feeds him with a sneer. But could that rotten cut be behind this evil plot? Baby stepping towards a murderous career. Pouty little Paco's looking coy, but he's a bad boy. Did Paco's passion prove apocalyptic? Did this Patty and his rattle, did this Fisher go to battle, proving he's the perma-mix this Pickwick Triplets? In this picaresque puzzle of the Pickwick pack, with a lighthouse shed some light, on which Kit Gable mother whack. There's an infant to indict. I'll book this little crook tonight. But which of the Pickwick Triplets did it? Who of the crew would commit this crime? Which little brat will probably go splat? Which favorite Sid will be doing hard time? Which of the Pickwick Triplets did it? Which little putz had the guts to kill? Like a forensic pediatrician, I'll complete this inquisition. I will name the neonatal from the cradle that grew fatal. I'll find the perpetrator who did murder to their nature. Or coochie coochie coo. What if none of it is true? Has my inspection been too cursory? Should I look outside this nursery? What if none of the triplets did it? Would have had a minute motive in it? Who? Well, I pick you.
The constable, ladies and gentlemen. The door creaks open. And the detective and the nanny enter quickly, their faces tense with urgency. The constable jumps slightly, startled out of his thoughts.
Constable, what happened here? Did you see anything? Hear anything?
No, nothing. Just the babies. They've been quiet. Too quiet, if you ask me.
That's it. You give them.
It's like they know something, like they're waiting.
Oh, thank heavens they're all right. I feared the worst when that bell rang. What is going on in this place? It feels like it's falling apart at the seams.
The bell. Someone is playing games with us, trying to keep us off balance, but who and why?
Or what if it's not someone at all? What if it's something? What if it really is them?
They gasp.
Oh, enough of that nonsense. They're babies, Constable, not murderers. We need to focus on what is real, not on vile fantasies.
The godmother mentioned the old bell. Why ring it now? What is the point of all this?
Maybe it's a warning that something terrible is about to happen.
Everything that happened tonight is terrible. We don't need any more warning. We need answers.
Yes, answers. Answers are what we need, and I think I know where to start.
Detective, are you all right? You look different.
Different? No, Nanny. I'm exactly the same as I've always been, just more focused now. I know what must be done.
Suddenly, the distant sound of an air horn blares. Beep, 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 beep. Loud and jarring. The constable jumps again, his nerves already frayed.
What was that? Who's out there?
The door swings open, and the boatman, a rough-looking man with a weathered face, steps inside. He's holding a lantern and looks both wary and determined.
Constable, we've got trouble down by the docks. The fog is rolling in thicker and the sea is acting up. You need to come with me now.
What about the babies and the others?
There's no time. We need to secure the boats before we lose them all to the tide.
Go ahead, Constable. Nanny and I can handle things here. We'll keep the children safe.
Detective, maybe you should go with them. I can manage here.
Oh, no, Nanny. I think I should stay right here, right where I belong.
All right, but be careful. All of you. I'll be back as soon as I can.
The boatman and the constable exit quickly, the door slamming shut behind them. The sound of the air horn fades into the distance, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. The nanny turns to the detective. her concern growing.
Detective, what is going on here? You're acting strange. Strange as unusual.
Strange, Nanny? I don't feel strange. In fact, I feel more myself than I have in a very long time.
What are you talking about? What's gotten into you?
I've been thinking, Nanny, thinking about Mrs. Pickwick, about what happened to her and why. And I realize it's not over. Not yet.
No, no, detective. You can't be serious. They're just babies.
Just babies? Or something more? Something that needs to be dealt with.
The nanny quickly moves to place herself between the detective and the cradles, her voice firm despite her fear.
Detective, please. Whatever you're thinking, don't do this. It wasn't them. It wasn't them.
No, Nanny, I'm afraid it needs to be done for their sake, for all our sakes.
He reaches into his coat, pulling out a baby's rattle. The same one found with Mrs. Pickwick. They gasp. The nanny gasps.
No, stay away from them.
The detective lunges toward the cradles, but the nanny throws herself in front of him, trying to hold him back. They struggle, the tension in the room reaching a fever pitch. The detective's face is twisted with manic determination, while the nanny fights desperately to protect the babies.
It has to end, Nanny. It has to end tonight.
The struggle intensifies, and the detective grabs the nanny by the shoulders, shaking her violently. Respectfully. Suddenly, a loud pounding noise comes from outside the door. Startling both of them, the detective loosens his grip on the nanny, who seizes the opportunity to push him away. She stumbles backward, gasping for breath.
I'm not mad. I see things clearly now, clearer than ever.
The pounding continues, and then the godmother bursts into the room, her face pale and panicked.
What's going on here? I heard shouting. Oh no, not you too.
Ah, godmother, just in time. You can witness the end of this nightmare.
Stay away from me, detective. You are not yourself.
Oh, but I am more than ever. I see now. It's also clear. It's the children. They're the ones who should fear.
Detective, listen to yourself. You're not making any sense. This fog is talking. The madness of this place.
No, Nanny, this is clarity. This is purpose.
Suddenly, a loud, shrill whistle pierces the air, cutting through the tension like a knife. The detective freezes, his eyes widening as if struck by an invisible force. He staggers back, dropping the rattle, clutching his head as if in pain.
Quickly, help me get the children out of here.
Right. Before he comes to his senses, or whatever sense he's got left.
They begin to gather the babies, moving as quickly as they can. The detective continues to stagger, his eyes wild, muttering to himself in a frantic whisper.
No, I can't. Not again. I won't.
The door bursts open again, and the boatman appears, holding an air horn. He looks around the room, his expression grim.
Constable, sit me back. Said you all need to get out of here now. The fog is getting worse and the tide is rising. We're running out of time.
The boatman nods and moves to help, but as he does, the detective suddenly snaps upright, his demeanor shifting again. He grabs the nanny's arm, his grip tight and unyielding.
No one is leaving, not until this is finished.
This isn't you.
Wake up, man! Whatever's gotten hold hold of you. Fight it.
Burp, burp. The air horn seems to snap the detective out of his trance momentarily, and he releases the nanny, staggering back once more. His face contorts with confusion and rage, as if two sides of him are battling for control.
Get out of my head.
The boatman seizes the moment, grabbing the detective and pulling him toward the door.
Go, get the children. I'll handle him.
The nanny and the godmother rush out of the room with the babies. The boatman struggles with the detective, trying to pull him out, but the detective suddenly breaks free, his eyes blazing with madness once more.
I must finish this. I must.
The detective lunges towards the cradles, but they are empty now. He stops looking around in confusion, then turns his gaze back to the boatman with a look of pure fury.
Stay back, detective. Don't make me do this.
Burp, 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 burp. The detective hesitates for a moment, his eyes flickering between madness and sanity. The boatman blows the air horn again. A deafening blast that echoes through the lighthouse. The detective collapses to his knees, clutching his head as the lights dim and the fog rolls thicker, enveloping everything into darkness. End of scene 4.
Scene 5. The top of the Pickwick Lighthouse, known as the Widow's Walk. The area is shrouded in dense fog with the sound of waves crashing violently against the rock far below. The wind howls through the air, creating a sense of foreboding. The only light coming from a distant beam of the lighthouse sweeping across the sea. The atmosphere is tense, filled with the echoes of the past night's events. The boatman and the detective are on the walkway, locked in a fierce struggle. The scene opens with the boatman struggling to hold back the detective, who is thrashing violently, his eyes wild with madness. The detective's face is a twisted mask of rage and confusion, as if he's fighting an internal battle as much as a physical one.
Detective, snap out of it. Whatever's gotten into you, fight it. This is not who you are.
Oh, but it is, boatman. It's who I've always been. I just didn't know it until now.
The detective suddenly overpowers the boatman, throwing him against the rail with a loud crash. The boatman groans, trying to get back to his feet, but the detective is on him in an instant, his hands around the boatman's throat.
You don't have to do this. Think of the children.
The children. Yes, they're the reasons for all of this. They're the key. They have to be silenced.
With a sudden burst of strength, the boatman shoves the detective back, breaking his grip. He coughs, trying to catch his breath, his eyes wide with fear and determination.
You're insane. You're completely mad.
Mad? No, boatman. I've never been clearer. I see it all now. The truth in the fog.
The detective lunges at the boatman again, but the boatman dodges, sending the detective crashing into the railing. The wood splinters under the force. The detective almost goes over the edge, but catches himself just in time. He turns back to the boatman, fury in his eyes.
You should have stayed out of this. Now it's too late.
The detective charges again, but this time he manages to grab a piece of the broken wood from the railing. With a swift motion, he drives it into the boatman's side. The boatman gasps, his eyes widening in shock and in pain. The detective pulls the wood out and pushes the boatman back against the broken railing. With one final desperate shove, the detective sends the boatman tumbling over the edge. The boatman's scream echoes through the fog as he falls to the rocks below, following by a sickening thud.
One less obstacle, one step closer to the truth.
Suddenly, the nanny bursts out onto the Widow's Walk, her face pale but resolute. She sees the detective standing by the broken railing, his eyes still wild, and the realization of what he's done dawns on her.
Detective, what have you done?
I've done what needs to be done, Nanny. Just like before, just like with Mrs. Pickwick. And now it's time to finish what I've started.
Detective, listen to me. You don't have to do this. Whatever happened to you, you can find it. Think of the children. Think what Mrs. Pickwick would have wanted.
Mrs. Pickwick. Oh, Nanny, she's the reason we're here, the reason for all of this. Don't you see? It ends tonight for the sake of the children and for my own.
I won't let you hurt them. Not the children. Not anyone else. It stops here, Detective.
Oh, you think you can stop me, Nanny? You with your self-righteous and so-called care for those brats? You're nothing. You're weak.
The detective moves toward her, his intent clear. The nanny backs up, her eyes darting around for anything she can use to defend herself. Her hand brushes against the broken piece of railing the detective used earlier. She grips it tightly, her knuckles white.
You're wrong, Detective. I am stronger than you think. Stronger than you will ever be.
As the detective lunges at her, the nanny sidesteps and uses the broken whip to trip him. He stumbles, almost losing his balance, but he catches himself, turns back to her, snarling like a wild animal.
You think you're clever, don't you? But clever won't save you, Nanny.
He charges again, but this time the nanny is ready. She dodges his attack, shoves him hard towards the broken railing. The detective hits it with a crack, teetering at the edge.
I'm sorry, Detective, but I have to protect them. I have to protect the children.
You think you're protecting them? No, that's your line.
Yeah, you think you're protecting them, but you're only delaying the inevitable. They'll never be safe, not from me.
With a final determined look, the nanny steps forward and gives the detective one last push. He gasps as he loses his footing, falling off the window's lock, his screams echoing the fog as he plummets to the rocks below. There's a moment of silence, broken only by the sound of the waves crashing far below. The nanny stands there, breathing heavily, staring down where the detective fell. Her face is a mix of horror and relief as she slowly lowers the piece of wood, her hand still shaking.
It's over. It's finally over.
The wind howls around her, the fog swirling as if closing in on her. She turns and carefully makes her way down to the spiral staircase of the lighthouse. The beams from the lighthouse continue to sweep across the foggy sea, casting long, eerie shadows. As she reaches the bottom of the lighthouse, she steps onto the rocks, the mist curling around her feet. The nanny looks out over the churning sea, fog still thick, her face filled with mix of sorrow and determination. She knows she must protect the children no matter what. She takes a deep breath. It steps further onto the rocks, closer to the edge of the water. Her voice carries over the waves as she begins to sing, her resolve clear. A haunting melody begins to play, signaling the transition to the song for the sake of the child. The nanny's voice is filled with emotion as she sings. The fog swirls around her, the lighthouse beam casting her shadow long onto the rocks. She stands firm, her silhouette stark against the swirling mist as she sings her promise to protect the children no matter what cost. And hold on 1 second. We have time to sing the song, so we will.
Let's give it up for the boatman and the detective for their. So sorry you had to fall to the rocks below. Forever air horns will sound like that.
Hold on, it's going to start in the middle again. Sorry. Maybe not. No.
Beautiful.
Try this again.
A nanny's only duties to the children to keep them swaddled in the safety of her care. With a fierce and iron will, she would fight and she would kill. If she's poked, she'll be provoked. And you just woke up Mama Bear. The nanny keeps her patients under pressure.
You'll never stop me, Nanny.
Forceful and resourceful as can be.
Don't make me laugh.
No matter what you might hurl toward her, she keeps the goddamn house in order.
I'm gonna get those boots.
Then you'll have to go
Still have
through
one seed left.
me for the sake of a child. For the sake of a child, to hell and back I go. No, I won't bend and I won't break. There are precious lives at stake. And the fire is down and it falls. For the sake, for the sake, for the sake, for the sake of a child.
What's the nanny? She's a ninny. She's a nothing.
I am the protector.
No match for such a massive private dick.
Massive.
You could shut your little trap. It's time for Nanny's final nap. And a rattle down your throat should do the trick.
I knew it. It was you all along. You're the killer.
I'm not just the killer. I'm the father.
Oh,
That's right.
legacy.
It's mine. And you can't stand in the way.
Over my dead body.
For the sake of a child.
For the sake of a child.
To hell and back I go. For the sake, for the sake,
For the sake,
for the sake of a child.
grace in your gaze is bone chilly. Still you've been serial killing.
I did what I had to do, and now I'm about to do it to you. See, you're just a baby, but why? Her disposable, just like a diaper.
They're mine to protect.
I have to object.
It's me that they
They
need.
grew from my seed.
Till my last breath I take, I'll stay steadfast for the sake of a child. You never will defeat me. For a child, to death I dare to go. Yes, I live my life at stake. With this song vow I make, I die before I ever let them go. For the sake,
For the sake,
for the sake,
for the sake,
for the sake. For the sake of a child.
No, don't play another.
Way back.
Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Paul Rudd. Thank you, Meryl Streep. Scene 6, the rocky shore below the Pickwick Lighthouse. Setting, the rocky shore below the Pickwick Lighthouse. Ah, I love it. The area is shrouded in thick fog, and the waves crash violently against the jagged rocks. The lighthouse beam sweeps across the mist, briefly illuminating the dark, eerie surroundings. The bodies of the detective and the boatman lie crumpled on the rocks, eerily close to where Mrs. Pickwick's body was found earlier. A faint, haunting melody. I was waiting for that. A faint, haunting melody hangs in the air as the constable steps cautiously onto the rocks, his lantern flickering in the heavy mist. He looks around nervously, his expression a mixture of fear and determination. The nanny, holding the 3 bassinets, begins to disappear in the thick fog. She glances back once, her face shadowed with a mix of sorrow and resolve. As the fog closes around her, she vanishes from sight, leaving only the sound of the waves and the distant beam of the lighthouse sweeping across the water.
Nanny? Nanny, where are you? We need to stay together. This fog is thick as soup and twice as cold.
The constable stumbles over the rocks, his lantern casting long shadows that twist and move in the mist. He suddenly stops, his eyes widening as he sees the bodies of the detective and the boatman. Boatman detective. Lying just where Mrs. Pickwick was found. He steps closer, his breath catching in his throat.
Oh no, not again. Why does it always end like this? Bodies piling up like it's some kind of grim lighthouse tradition.
He crouches down, examining the bodies, a look of sadness mixed with resignation on his face. He sighs deeply, standing up and looking out into the fog, his lantern held high.
And so it ends, yet again, in tragedy. A cursed lighthouse, haunted by its own past, and a present that seems all too willing to follow suit. Oh, detective, you were always so sure of yourself, so confident in your ability to uncover the truth. But sometimes the truth is best left buried, isn't it? Like old secrets and, well, bodies.
He steps over the boatman, gently closing his eyes with a sigh.
And you, boatman, always caught in the middle of things. You just wanted to live your life by the sea. By the sea, but the sea, she has other plans. Always does. And now look at you, washed up on the rocks like a bad decision on a Saturday night.
The constable straightens up. I have to too, sorry. Ugh. Looking around at the fog and the sweeping light from the lighthouse, he takes a deep breath, the cold air visible as he exhales.
There's a lesson in all this, I suppose. Something about greed or madness, or maybe just plain old bad luck. Or maybe, just maybe, it's about knowing when to walk away, when to leave well enough alone.
He pauses, glances around as if expecting someone to respond. The fog swirls, the silence only broken by the crash of the waves. He chuckles softly, shaking his head.
But who am I kidding? No one ever learns anything anywhere around here. We just keep spinning our circles like the lighthouse beam, round and around, always coming back to the same dark spot.
Insightful. He turns back toward the lighthouse, looking up at its towering presence above him.
And you stand here, there, all high and mighty, casting your light out into the dark, but never looking down at what's right under your nose. How many more have to die? Huh? How many more before you're satisfied?
He sighs heavily, turning back to the bodies, shaking his head sadly.
Guess that's the thing about mysteries. They never really end. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, another one pops up like a bad penny or sequel no one asked for.
What? Yeah. He starts to turn away, then pauses, as if struck by a thought. He looks back at the bodies, then up into the fog, where the nanny disappeared.
But maybe, just maybe, this time it is different. Maybe this time someone gets away. Maybe this time someone finally learns something.
He stands there for a moment, lost in thought. Then he nods to himself as if making a decision. He lifts his lantern high, casting one last look around the fog-covered rocks.
And maybe, just maybe, it's time for this constable to retire. Right, a nice, quiet village with no lighthouses or murders.
He turns and begins to walk away, his silhouette fading into the fog. The light from his lantern grows dimmer until it's swallowed by the mist. The sound of the waves grow louder, filling the silence left in its wake. The beam of the lighthouse continues to sweep across the fog, a lone beacon in the darkness. The haunting melody of For the Sake of a Child begins to play softly. As the fog thickens, the lighthouse standing tall against the encroaching mist. End of scene 6. Curtain falls. Curtain up, and there's a curtain call. Everybody come up, take a bow.
I would like to thank ChatGPT for giving us this beautiful, insightful musical. That being said, it went back to sleep. On the screen, there will be a QR code if it starts working again. It stopped working again. My laptop died. Woo! Okay. Dragon Con Theater and Performing Arts Lovers, unofficial. If you want more theater at Dragon Con, please join our group. Again, Dragon Con Theater and Performing Arts Lovers, unofficial. If you search Dragon Con Theater on Facebook, you'll find us. We also have I think 20 more panels and events this year. So make sure you rate us 5 stars. Tell Dragon Con you want more theater at Dragon Con.
Thank you to the Digital Media Track for allowing us to be on this panel. A couple things. The Dragon Con charity for 2024 is the Arthritis Foundation. If you have cash, you can put your donations here. There's also a QR code right below. The Arthritis Foundation is the #1 cause of disability. Arthritis affects nearly 60 million adults and hundreds of thousands of children. Dragon Con matches up to $125,000. Last year, they raised $272,000 for the charity last year. So if you can. Also, the Digital Media Track sponsor is Zakat. For over 22 years, they've been empowering lives through disaster relief, fund distribution, orphan care, and more. Their top-notch ratings from Charity Navigator and BBB Wise Gives Alliance means your contributions are going to make a difference. Go to zakat.org or go ahead and check out the QR code on the side.
If anybody wants a copy of it, if you make a donation into the charity bucket, I'll give you the last copy of the thing. Thanks. I'm glad you guys
Thanks for
enjoyed
coming.
it.